What's up? It's your man Billy T, and I'm joined with my good friend Cristal Franklin. How you doing, Cristal?
I'm fine. And you?
All right. For those who don't know, Cristal is Aretha Franklin's niece, the daughter of Cecil Franklin, Aretha's brother.
Yes.
Now, in the last, they had a little family picture there. I like that. Now, last year we did an interview, great interview, and outside, and we had some interesting. We got 1 million comments on this thing, so I want you to address a couple of these comments. First, everyone had a problem with what you said about Aretha's cooking. You said she wasn't the best cook. Can you clarify that? Because people had a problem with that.
She wasn't the best cook. She was not the best cook. I don't understand why people have such a hard time with that. She was on the road most of her, so cooking was not her forte. She didn't have time to perfect recipes. She was an okay cook, but she wasn't a great cook. I will say this. She cooked a meal for me one time I came home from Easter, which consisted of like Cornish hen and wild rice and maybe, I believe it was like string beans or broccoli. And that meal was amazing. But if you're looking for a full course meal, considering turkey, dressing, greens, macaroni, you weren't getting that from Aretha. I'm sorry.
And everybody was like, "How dare her?" But that's your reality, right? That's your.
I mean, my Aunt Carolyn wasn't a good cook, and Irma could do her thing, but none of them were master cookers. They had other things going on in their lives, and that meant they didn't have to be master cookers. I mean, I don't understand. My aunts and my father, they had a housekeeper from the moment of the earth. So Catherine was the housekeeper, she was the cook, and she did the cooking and cleaning, and they picked up things from her, but my aunt Aretha was not the best cook. Just face the fact.
And that's
I mean, she can do some things in the kitchen, but she wasn't a master cooker. I'm sorry.
Go. That's all you were saying. And I don't think people got it quite right.
Yeah.
You didn't say she was terrible.
Yeah.
And the other thing is she
was okay.
Yeah.
You can eat and survive, but if you're looking for, a quarter on blue, stuffed gourmet meal with the garnishing, she's not doing all of that. She's not.
They also had a problem with you not calling her Aunt Aretha. Now, did you call her Aunt Aretha, or was it just,
I called her Auntie.
Oh, okay.
But when I speak about her, I'm gonna call her Aretha. I'm gonna say Aretha because that's just I know that the interview is about her, and if I just say Auntie, people will realize who I'm speaking of. But when I talk about her, I do say my Aunt Aretha, or I'll say Aretha. She did not want to be called Ms. Franklin because she said that was her mother's name. But I did call her Auntie. I called her Auntie. When I was really little, though, I kind of called her Aretha. It wasn't until I got to be a teenager that I kind of started to call her Auntie, because I didn't call my Aunt Irma Aunt Irma. I called her Irma. So we didn't really do the whole formal aunts, uncles, that kind of thing. And I think people also get construed that I'm a lot younger than what I am. So April 14th, I'll be 48 years old. Oh, wow. So I'm not a kid. I'm not, you see what I'm saying? Like, I'm not a teenager.
Happy early birthday. April 14th.
You.
Oh my goodness.
So, yes, we were all Aries. So my Aretha, my cousin Sabrina, my father, then Aretha's oldest and youngest children, myself, and then Aretha's granddaughter. So it was like, 7, 8 Aries in the family. Okay. But yes, so I did call her Aunt Aretha. Again, though, when I was younger, I called her Aretha. And then as I became a teenager, I kind of like drifted towards calling her Auntie, and she didn't mind either way.
Okay. So clear that up so the people who have those had their comments. Leave that alone. All right. So
and I want to say one thing. Another comment was I briefly read the comment, briefly. And a few people said some things about my t-shirts and my clothing line. I want people to understand that I did not start selling t-shirts with Aretha. My original brand is called ID Detroit, which I'm wearing today, which is all about the city. So it wasn't until my aunt passing, and then my friends and family were like, hey, everyone else is making money. Why don't you do your thing? So I'm gonna have to be honest with you. I don't even like selling her products. That's not my thing. My thing is the ID Detroit. And I sell my aunt's products because everyone else is like, let's keep this in the family. Keep the generational money going on. And that's how I actually started selling the Aretha product. Okay. But if anyone was to search me on Google or any social media, they'll definitely see that most of my sales and most of my push is always with my ID Detroit brand.
And also people were asking how to get to the t-shirts. And I said, the website is C Franklin. What's the website again?
No, cfranksoriginal.com. But you can always just Google C Franks, but it's cfranksoriginal.com.
Okay. All right, let's get to the meat of the subject here, which is the movie. National Geographic put out a biopic. Now, we know that Jennifer Hudson was handpicked by Aretha to play her in the big on-screen movie. And then National Geographic comes out with this mini series. I understand a lot of the family was not happy with this coming out. What's the vibe and the feeling of the family and yourself right now?
So I'm going to have to say it wasn't the family. So the family consists of more than one person.
Okay.
So the family as a whole, we had no problem with it. Those particular family members had a problem with it. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to leave that right there. But my opinion about the biopic, mm-hmm. Because people keep calling it a movie, it's not a biopic, it's a mini series. The Genius Project. So let's just say that. My thing about it is that everyone has their story to tell from their point of view. Mm-hmm. So the point of view from the information that they gathered, they felt that the information that they conveyed was what they wanted to convey about my aunt and my family. As far as I'm concerned, every family has, ups, downs, valleys, and peaks, and everyone has a genius within their family. It's all about how those valleys and peaks brings out the genius in that person. And that's what that movie was that's what that biopic was trying to convey. The genius that made Aretha. And unfortunately, some of the content was not easy to watch for myself or for other people. Some of the content was new to a lot of people. None of that information was new to me. So it didn't come across as shock and awe. It just came across as, this is what I was born into. So for me, I'm not gonna say I didn't have a problem with it. I didn't like some of the messages that they conveyed and some of the things that they said and just, how some characters played out. But I'm also, like I said, I was born in this thing. So I'm tough enough to understand that it's about making money. It's about story. Because if I decide in 10 years I want to do my story might be from the stage point of view because I grew up as a backstage kid. Mm-hmm. So mine might be called Show Day. Everyone when we look at all of these different celebrities, people tend to put out movies or biopics every 10 to 15 years, every 7, 8. So in 20 years, when all of us are dead and gone, there may be someone else who wants to put out their own biopic or their own movie who feels like their point of view is relevant or they want to get their point across. So no, I'm not upset about it. No, I'm not throwing a hissy fit about it. Do I like everything that was shown? No, of course I don't. Mm-hmm. But it's my family and I have to accept, what I was born into. And like I told you the other day, Billy, people have all kind of demons and secrets within families. When your grandmother used to get a new car and a new Cadillac, and a new mink coat, that's because granddaddy been tipping out and disappeared for a week and he had to do something to make up for it. So this is nothing new. This is not strange in the world that we live in. And it's life. It's life. You have to accept what your cards are, dealt. And I was dealt into the Franklin family. I can't erase it and I can't take it away. It's just what it is.
There it is. Well, I appreciate your viewpoint on that. That clears things up a lot. And it was an incredible series. I thought it may have been shocking to a lot of people, but it told the story. And what I saw really was Aretha growing into the Aretha we know. She was, her father was controlling, her first husband was controlling, and then finally she broke out and became the queen of soul for real. And I thought it was a great story. I really did. And it showed also the love of the family. At the end of the day, it showed how tight the family was. And I thought that was good. Now, you said that, it's real life here. You told me that when Aretha came home, after your grandfather got shot, Aretha came home back to Detroit. And when she first got back, she actually lived with your family for a few years. Tell us about that. That's
They were, I think they lived with us for, it probably was about 4.5, maybe 5 months, maybe a little longer. Don't quote me on that. Maybe eight at the most. But yeah, so
you was
Aretha,
just a little kid.
her husband at the time.
Glenn
I'm
Turman?
sorry.
You were
Yes,
just a little
I was
kid.
about to say, so my Aunt Aretha, Glenn Turman, Frank and BJ, which was her bodyguards, and Norman Duggar, which was her personal assistant. And back then we didn't call him personal assistants, we called him valet. But to me, he was just, Norman. He was like Uncle Norman. But they all came to live with us in our home on Stansbury and 6 Mile. And at the time, my aunt was living in California. So when my grandfather got shot, when she came back here, she was in the process of relocating back to Detroit. People would be like, oh, would have thought, oh, she would have lived in a hotel. But when you're going through trying times like that, the only thing you want to do is be with family. You don't want to live in a strange hotel. You don't want to be anywhere else. And my mother always tells this story that no matter where her and my father moved to, my Aunt Irma was never far away. So Irma actually lived down the street, opposite side of the street, about 7 houses down. My Aunt Irma lived as well. And Carolyn was staying there with Irma at the time. So we were all on the same block together. And I think, that's important when you're dealing with something like that. And the bodyguards were there because at the time it was a very, it was early 70s and it was still a high profile situation. And that was really how, my grandfather was like Detroit, you know what I'm saying? Like he was the man. So for that to have happened, we, in order for my aunt to be, because technically Stansbury, 6 Mile, Schaefer, across street from Mount Carmel is the hood. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So in order for her to be in what we consider, growing up, to me, it wasn't the hood, but now, as time went on, it became the hood.
Yeah.
She needed to have protection, even though it was funny because everyone in the neighborhood knew who my father was and knew, who he was related to. And it wasn't the first time my aunt had ever visited our home before, but for her to be there for such an extended period of time and for Glenn to be there with her as well, in order for all of us to be protected. That's why they all lived there. And at the time when they came to live with us, I didn't know the difference between my Aunt Irma and my Aunt Carolyn and who Aretha was and who was Glenn Turman. I had never seen Cooley High, none of the rest of that. I was 4, 5, 6 years old. I had no idea. All I knew is that we had a house full of people. It was fun. You know what I'm saying? I loved Frank and BJ, which was her bodyguards for years, and Norman. So I was just in heaven as a kid. And I didn't realize anything was going on. Even I just know that when my grandfather passed, it was a 2-day celebration of life. It was hot because it was July. I had 3 clothes changes, curls. It was just wild. That's all I can say. And that was my first experience with a huge funeral. And every time one of my aunts passed or my father passed, or even when my great grandmother passed, we never had like a little say the obituary, people say some words and some singing, and now no. We've always had these over the top funerals. So for Aretha's funeral to be dang on 19 hours, I didn't know the difference between that and when they buried my grandfather, and it took us 2 days to get him to the cemetery. So, Aretha living with us, it was quite cool. Like I said, I was a young kid, and I just remember just having them there was amazing. And she used to leave her Pond's cold cream on the countertop in the bathroom. Yeah, and it would drive my mother crazy. And like I said, it was just great. And Norman was an amazing cook. So we always had Norman was no joke. He was from like North Carolina, and he stuttered, and everybody loved Norman Duggar. So, it was a very trying time for our family. It was very tragic at the time, but the love was real, and they embraced each other, and it was just a great time to be a kid,
Yeah,
it was just it was before. I'm just so glad it was before the internet. It was before social media. So, it's a different, it was a different type of grieving process from when my aunt died. Because as we can see, even with the situation with DMX, they killed him off 3 days ago. And with Aretha, as she was transitioning, every day somebody was calling me like, did Aretha die? Don't call me no more until y'all see it officially on CNN. Then that's when it happened. Until CNN say something, don't call me no more about this. So I'm just glad that, we had a chance to grieve and to process what was going on back then. And Gil Hill was the one who took the case up and, found the people who shot my grandfather. So that's a lot.
Oh,
That's a lot, and everybody wouldn't be able to handle all of that. And I'm just so thankful that I was born into this situation, and not when I got to be 16, my aunt is a megastar. No, when I got here, she was already Queen of Soul, already won Grammys, 15 albums in. So, I was just lucky in that sense.
Yeah. And you're right. Now, back in the day, that's what families did, though. When you go out of town and visit, you stayed with family. And that was always a good feeling when people came to the house and it was a house full of people. That was always beautiful. Now, I want to say, though, watching the movie, the little girl that played young Aretha looks like you. She reminded me of you so much.
Oh my God, that's so funny. And it's so crazy because people have been watching it. I'm gonna have to say, Billy, the one thing that I've been very blessed with is great friends. My friends knew not to call me. I had already put a public service announcement out on the internet and told them, don't call me. Watch it on your own pretense. Take in what you need to take in. Love the pieces that you love, hate the pieces you hate. But don't call and question me, because first of all, if you all notice, most of that was done before
you were born.
Exactly. Right. So don't call me with that mess about what happened and who said what and da da da. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I still have not watched the last 2 episodes, which is a little more heavier with my father's presence and things like that. I still haven't watched it all, but I've watched enough of it that eventually I'll sit down and I'll take in the rest and go from there. I'm just thankful that anyone is interested in keeping my aunt's name alive. You know what I'm saying? Good or ugly. You just have to be thankful, because some people die and no one ever remembers them or even speaks of their names again. So I'm just thankful, in that sense, and that I have a legacy of greatness that my daughter and my grandkids and kids 50 generations from now can Google my great grandmother, my grandfather, my aunts, my father, myself, just trying to build on that legacy is very important within our community.
And I think the last part was very touching because it really just, again, it showed the closeness of the family. I thought the last part was a lot softer and easier at the end. For, just the togetherness of the family was really nice.
So one thing about our family is we're all named after each other. I carry my aunt's name, and my cousins carry my father's name, and my other cousin carried both of their names. So we're, people would always say, do you see her a lot? I'm like, I couldn't grasp that concept because, again, to the world, she's a super duper mega star, but to me, she's my aunt. So people would always be like, she ain't your aunt. It took, so this evolution took time, right? So when I was a kid, I didn't realize when I was a little girl. So then by the time I got to middle school or like 4th grade, when realization starts to sit in and they're picking me up in limousines and, just different things are going on and people can visually see. Then they ask me and I tell them Aretha's my aunt. They'd be like, no, she's not. So it maybe for like a year and a half, I would fight that and I would cry. And then I got to the point where, okay, you know what I'm saying? What am I supposed to say? All right, then, forget it. All right, then. And then once she passed, again, it still didn't resonate. But once she passed and the world just like went crazy, topsy-turvy, and millions of people showed up to view her body, and millions of people flew in and drove in. I mean, with my business and doing these interviews, people tend to drop in underneath and I find out things. Oh, I drove 2.5 hours by myself. My family thought I was crazy. Oh, I flew in I met a young lady from Amsterdam, Miss Sharma Rose, and I love her to death. She's even introduced me over in London. I went to London and took my product and she's embraced me like as a sister, but Sharma had never seen my aunt in person, never had an opportunity to meet her, but she flew all the way from Amsterdam at the last minute to be a part of the celebration of my aunt's passing. So once I saw that and we met people from Ireland and just all over the world, I was like, oh, she must have been that. I mean, again, I was a kid, she was mine. We did amazing things together. She didn't have any daughters. So myself and Sabrina were the closest 2 things that she had of daughters. So, I'm just grateful, like I always say, that, I had an opportunity to spend tons of time with her, tons on the bus, at her house, shopping, dinner.
She spoiled you rotten. She spoiled you rotten. Nothing wrong with that.
Just a little bit, because I also was the last grandchild. So my parents waited, till they were in their early 30s to have me. So I'm the youngest of everybody. Okay. So not only did she do it, her sons, I was probably the most rotten of them all, even when it come down to it.
Well, Cristal,
Yeah.
it's always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you,
And of
Billy.
course, the Franklin
Thank you.
family is embedded in Detroit, and it's such a part of all of our lives. Aretha Franklin, the whole family, that
Yes.
we all miss her and love her, and we love you for carrying on the name and the tradition of the Franklin family.
Yes, yes. I just always thank, you know, the world, thank the city of Detroit for embracing my family and loving on my family, and just, you know, allowing Detroit to know and to, you know, hold us close, because baby, it's been some rough times in this last 2.5, 3 years. And I know that if it wasn't for some of, you know, the little, small, big, and little, I don't know, we probably would be stir crazy by now. But, you know, what a blessing. That's all I can say. I'm glad I'm from Detroit, because I don't know if I, you know, if I was LA, I might be too Hollywood.
You
And
might
oh,
be.
no, I don't talk to people like Billy T, who, you know, like,
Who is
no,
that?
I'm a home girl, man, please.
Yep.
Detroit
Well,
all day.
and let's give them that website once again so they can check out the shirts.
www.cfranks, so CFRANKS, and the word original.com. C Franks across all social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. All you got to do is just Google that C Franks, CFRANKS.
There you go. All right, Miss
Thank
Franklin,
you.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you so much. Be safe, world.
All right. Around the D with your man Billy T. That's how we do it.